Hey folks, it's us, podcasting wonderkins John Bishop and Lucas Southworth.
Although this is a podcast about cars, it is not age appropriate for the target demographic of these films, as we usually end up talking about the reproductive organs of Lightning McQueen.
Alright, now let's take a look under the hood. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Kachats, the only podcast brave enough to ask the question, hey...
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Kachat, the... Oh, sorry. You
that
go.
was like
No, you go.
Period of 15 seconds.
Wait.
Like, this is not even believable.
Are we getting
like
some,
a
like...
recording issue?
Are we getting some... What's going on here?
Either A, there's genuinely a recording issue, which I don't believe is happening, or
The only
B,
podcast brave enough to ask the question is, hey, what's up with cars?
Yeah, or B, the joke is, I'm guessing, since we're going to the past for another Moments in Hearse-tory, that, like, sort of...
Time travel shenanigans. That's right, Lucas.
Yeah, thank you, John. We didn't say our names. I'm Lucas Southworth.
And I'm John Bishop, from the future.
I guess that lines up with the joke you were... No, you'd be slightly from the past? No, your joke lacks some internal logic, but who cares? All of them
So
do.
does time travel, Lucas.
That is true.
So what are we talking about this week?
Well, we had so much fun, I'm going to say 7 or 8 episodes ago when we did Moments in Hearse-tory, that we decided to do it, but again, with different moments in Hearse-tory. If you didn't listen to that one, basically, we are assuming a model of the Cars verse that did not evolve from humans, but paralleled human history, so events in human history, but cars. And wouldn't that be weird? And we talk about some specific ones. John and I each bring in some, and we don't know what the other one has. Whoa!
All right. Well, after that riveting introduction, I'm going to go ahead and start with my first one.
Okay.
Let's talk about the beheading of Mary, Queen of Scots.
Okay, now we did talk a decent amount just about general beheadings.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Last episode.
Let's go with, instead, the death of John the Baptist.
Now, I don't remember. Was he beheaded?
Dang it.
Okay. I thought so. I was pretty sure.
All right. Let's talk about instead the traitorous disciple who took his own life. That's right, Judas.
Again, I don't remember. I don't think he beheaded himself. Did he?
He hanged himself.
Okay, we did also talk about that. Yeah.
Dang it.
Okay.
Okay. Let's talk about
How many of these do you think you got?
Let's talk about the execution of Joan of Arc.
She was burned alive, I think?
Yep, burned at the stake.
Okay, we didn't talk about that, sure.
All right, Lucas, I got one important question.
Uh-huh.
You decide you're going to murder/execute, if you want to pretend that it was justified, a woman who has led your armies to victory because she believed she was chosen by God, and you are a man who is too proud to think that that's even possible.
Sure.
So you decide to have her burned at the stake.
Yeah.
And you get her up there. She's burning at the stake. Typical burning at the stake death where the fumes kill her first, so she isn't like on fire death. Do you believe that you would be far more convinced that you were in the right, or far more worried about the implications of having been wrong once this car, Joan of Arc, definitely explodes?
No, yeah, okay. I feel like I would, in the Cars verse, if I'm gonna catch someone on fire, I feel like I expect them to explode because as we sort of decided last time, we're not going with the theory that like, oh, in olden times they were wagons. They're cars throughout all history in these, unless we state otherwise.
Hmm.
Uh, I feel like people had probably been on fire before. So I had a general understanding that like if people get on fire for long enough and bad enough, they explode. So
Probably.
I don't know that it would really go either way. I feel like it would be the expected outcome, you know?
Okay. Now, let's talk about what would it take to change one's opinion. Do we think that the explosion would have to send shrapnel everywhere and like hurt the people who did this to her?
Now
Or
that,
do we
yeah,
think something along that line?
I could see the explosion like hurting the people who were doing it to her.
Mhm.
I could see that convincing them in both ways, like this is God's retribution, or she summoned up the last bit of her demonic powers to get her ungodly revenge on us.
Mhm.
Uh,
Like imagine in Castlevania, they're burning the wonderful doctor, and
sure.
then when they're doing that, uh, she explodes and her ribs launch into the bishop that decided she was going to be killed.
Yeah, that's a
Uh,
lot.
him dying, does that make him seem like he was on the side of God or not? Murdering an innocent woman, obviously, I would say makes him seem like he's not. But
Yeah, from the
hey,
perspective of history, either way, you know.
hmm,
But
like from the perspective of history, absolutely boss move blowing your ribs up to kill someone.
I mean, that's how I want to go out. Uh, but at the time, you know, I'm gonna say that some people would quietly believe, like, oh, she was telling the truth the whole time. She was very godly, and this is a righteous retribution. But maybe they wouldn't say anything because they didn't want to get blowed up either.
That is a good point. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. Like something about that goes very much in both directions. Because fire and brimstone, that's what God summoned to destroy some places, but also
Sure
fire and
did.
brimstone, that's like typical demonic realm views.
But they made the fire, you know? Like they're the ones who made it about fire in the first place. So
True enough. What if instead of that they do the same like method of death, which is inhalation of toxic fumes, and they
mhm.
just like plug up her exhaust pipe?
Oof, that's dark, but I mean, yeah.
Okay, 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 I can see it.
Yeah. Let's see. Do I know any other things about Joan of Arc? That's sort of a
She
theme of
was.
this one.
Let's go for a fun fact of the day.
Sure, yeah.
She is officially a saint.
Oh, good.
Hmm.
Good
She
on you,
is
Catholicism.
nicknamed the Maid of Orleans,
That's nice. I
or
like
pronounced
that.
correctly, I guess.
Yeah, who can say?
Hmm.
Uh,
All right.
anyway, yours just now. Quite honestly, I didn't prepare enough for this one, but your talking about Joan of Arc did make me think of one, which was the Salem Witch Trials.
Hmm. Very not fun fact of the day, which I don't know if this could go either way because it's one method of death is oftentimes attributed to it, but it wasn't that common actually. A lot of the witch trials did not end in burning at the stake, but instead being pressed, which
No,
means
yeah,
they had rocks laid on top of them until they suffocated or were
no, yeah.
crushed.
That is that I was definitely going to go there because I was going to bring up Giles Corey, who was very famously pressed to death in
Ooh,
the
best closing line ever.
in the Salem witch trials. When they kept asking him to confess being a witch, he just said more weight over and over
Hmm.
again until the weight killed him. Which honestly, yeah, man, good for you. But I do want to talk about how much rocks it would take to kill Carr.
See, here's the interesting thing. The
Yeah,
amount of rocks means basically nothing because it could be one very large rock.
yeah,
But let's say, unit of measurement, if we're doing for a rock, let's say a stone is how much each of the rocks weigh.
which is
Uh, It's a unit of measurement. I want to say it's in Scotland. No, it's an English imperial unit.
No, yeah, I just don't know how much a stone is. Yeah,
14 pounds.
14 pounds. Got it.
So, how many groupings of 14 pounds before Lightning McQueen is donezo?
It's unceremoniously crushed to death. I mean, more than me, certainly.
See,
Uh,
if I were to lay on top of a car, I have to imagine it would not immediately be killed.
yeah, yeah,
So that's at
definitely.
least like more than 12 stone.
Yeah, like, I guess we should start with how much stone would kill me, which, I don't know. I can survive a person laying on me. I can survive several persons laying on me, but it starts to hurt.
All right. I know that in order to like smash a watermelon with your thighs, you have
Sure.
to have like 230 plus pounds of force. And
Good fact to know.
that's with your I think femur
Uh huh.
being used, and that's like the strongest, thickest bone. So it's got to be a lot more than that because it doesn't hurt the femur. Unless it's just
Unless.
pressing on your chest, which suffocates you.
Yeah, I think definitely it's concentrated on your chest. The when they press you to death, but I think we can just go ahead and skip to. They would need like industrial construction equipment to like dump lots and lots and lots of rock to press Lightning McQueen to his death.
See, in our world, this is a thing, except it's a machine and it's for, like, I don't know, just compacting vehicles in, like, uh,
Ooh,
what, dumps?
yeah, the
Garbage
good old
sites?
like trash compactor, but for cars that makes them into the little cube, like from like from Cars 2.
Mm-hmm.
When he's the little cube, the poor spy car who gets viciously murdered off screen by being a cube.
Do we think the bad guys claimed that he was a witch?
I want to say that very badly, as a matter of fact. So I'm yeah, why not? He like if he's anything like Finn
Lucas,
McMissile, there's evidence.
he's able to transmogrify his body to turn himself into a shark-like creature, like good
John,
old
you know what another witch test is?
sink or swim.
Yeah, throw him in the water.
But here's the thing, Finn McMissile, he don't float.
Yeah, but it's I think it's if they just survive. Because if they die, you're like, ah, well,
Yeah, they
we
tie you
missed
to a
it.
rock. They tie you to a rock and then they dump you naked. And if you survive, you're a witch. Which, come on.
Yeah, they just wanted to kill people and do land grabs, and were also high, probably on like some bad mold. But
So Lucas, it's time for another fun fact of the day.
hit me.
Uh you know how in Game of Thrones the guy does the thing where he crushes a man's skull with his bare hands?
I don't watch Game of Thrones, but I do know that that is a thing that happened. Yes.
According to the NBC News, and then according to a bike helmet study published in the Journal of Neurosurgery Pediatrics, uh,
Sure.
a skull crush would require 520 pounds.
That's an impressive amount of force that I don't know. I assume the Mountain Man did.
The mountain.
Yeah. Well, good for him. He didn't skip arm day.
Now let's do the calculation. That is 37.1429 stone.
So more than that for a car. I mean, that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't really help us with car. But I feel like we were on a really good little line of the spy cars are all witches, and we got to get back there, right?
Absolutely. They clearly can transmute their body to suit their environment. They have magical spells, aka bullets, built into their body.
And
Because guns aren't like a classic thing. Like maybe if you want to say it's alchemy, because quite frankly, normal people don't have access to guns in this universe.
there's also I you mentioned him transmogrifying to be a shark, but also there's the magic disguise kit that Mater uses.
Mm-hmm.
That
Illusory magic,
yeah, that's classic witch stuff. Is changing your physical appearance.
and he can turn into Dracula. So there's that.
I don't care for it, but yeah, there is that.
Okay, okay, okay.
So witches, okay. I don't know that I love this road, but it seems like maybe the Salem Witch Trials were justified in the Cars verse. We're not saying that for sure.
See, here's the thing. Not even, because the Salem Witch Trials said you were a witch, but they were also saying you were using witchcraft to torture other people. Finn
Yeah.
McNissel is a hero.
Yeah, okay, sure.
So,
So that
like,
even if they did have real magical powers, which they very almost certainly do,
mhm.
uh, that's still not a reason to kill these random cars.
And no one's able to say whether or not those powers are based on, like, demonic entities or if it's just a force of nature.
Yeah, and I mean, we did say that they got their magic spy technology from the train deities,
Mm
uh, which seemed to be a force of good most
hmm.
of
Mm
the
hmm.
time, or at least like a neutral force of some sort.
Yeah, I would say the examples we've seen are either forces of neutrality or good.
Yeah, so probably they can pick their own route, but like, I would say that doesn't mean they're bad.
So, a car crusher,
Sure.
can impart more than 150 tons of crushing force. That isn't to say
Okay.
that it's required,
Yeah.
definitely not required just to even kill, but still, that's a lot of force.
Yeah, that's what, 300,000 pounds? 2,000 times 150? Did I do the
Yep,
math good? Yeah, cool.
you did a math good.
Yeah, that's,
That's, like you said, 2 billion pounds.
yeah, this is infinite pounds of force.
Mm hmm.
Uh, so yeah, I think they probably did use the good old dump car crusher in olden times, but just said it real slow. Which, gosh, that sounds bad. I mean, pressing someone to death in our universe is also very bad, but
Mm hmm.
both are bad. Don't do it.
And
I
because you
guess.
definitely were curious, that's about 21,500 stone.
Okay, so we weren't going to get there going in increments of like, well, I could probably take 14 stone. I'm glad we skipped some steps there. But
Yeah.
I do want to go back a bit to the sink or swim test because, man, I don't know that
Would
they would have to tie the stones to them.
they would just drop them? And I mean, here's the thing. In this universe, the sink or swim test really does work, though, because if you survive, you are certainly a Finn McMissile type witch
Yeah,
because you
you've
can breathe underwater.
you've done something that is super or unnatural to
Mm-hmm.
escape the situation you've been put in, especially back in Salem witch trial days.
Absolutely.
I don't know, probably it's confusing knowing what kind of technology was available when cars are there, but you get what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Boy, howdy. So yeah, witches. Okay, so I've always been under the like slight impression that certainly it seems that there's like a little bit of psychic power in this universe. What if
Sure.
witches are just better psychics? So like they're like normal people, just a little bit stronger.
Yeah, I could dig that. Why not? Yeah, sure. If we're already going to assume, and by we I mean you, are going to assume that they all cars can use some amount of psychic abilities, why not assume some people are better at it?
Mm-hmm. All right, all right, all right. Now this does bring me to a book that I've been listening to. It's one of the well, I've been listening to the Dresden Files, and in this, the main character is in fact a wizard, and they explain that wizards live a very long time because their cells replicate perfectly,
Well, that's nice.
which basically means that when they're healing, they don't have scars afterwards because they just keep healing until it was back how it should be, rather than having defects,
Sure.
which leads me to believe that if this is what we're going by, that Mater doesn't look like Mater. I
Meaning
think
that he is like
Mater
faking
must be
his rust.
faking his appearance. Yes,
Okay.
because it's like the whole Beauty and the Beast witch scenario of it's how people treat me, not knowing my inside, that matters.
Yeah.
So, like, he has an intentional illusion of an underclass of these rusty cars so that he can figure out the heart of people. And that's why he likes Lightning McQueen so much. Because even though Lightning McQueen dislikes rusty cars, he very, very quickly develops a friendship with this Mater character. And he learns from his mistakes and he becomes a better person quickly because all it takes is exposure for him to choose to be less ignorant.
Yeah. I dig that a lot. I think Mater as a sort of morality testing force in the world is about as good as anything else we've said about him.
Hmm. And that's also why the tall tales happen, because he keeps slipping up, and then Mater's like, "Well, I gotta punish you."
Yeah, we've got to. We've listen, man. I got to send you over the canyon again. I know you don't like going over the canyon, but
Okay, just this last time, I'm going to pit you against a monster truck that is 30 feet tall.
these are
You
the
know what you did.
trials. These are the trials that will improve you. I
Mm-hmm.
will make you perfect. Ah, okay, we're getting back into spooky territory with
You
Mater.
shall be
Uh,
my Herculean. Shoot, I don't know what to call him because like Hera hated Hercules, but
no,
also
yeah, I
it
was
was
gonna
the
say.
trials.
Yeah, I was gonna say the trials of Hercules were because Hera made Hercules go insane and murder his family.
Hmm.
But
Well, that and also like generally Hera hated him.
oh yeah, Hera just did not care for Hercules.
Hmm. That's why his name is Heracles,
Yeah,
which is
probably.
hilarious because I'm pretty sure it means like the pride of Hera.
Oops, got that one wrong, parents. John, what's your next thing?
Uh, wait, have you gone?
Yeah, I did Salem Witch Trials. We talked about the Salem Witch Trials for 15 minutes.
Oh yeah, okay. Um, shoot. Y2K.
Okay. Oh, wow.
So the year is 1999.
I'm there.
Everybody is a little bit timid. The turn of the century is coming, and everyone's afraid of these newfangled machines and what's going to happen to them when their internal clocks can't handle a decimal change.
And I haven't read a ton about this, but if you weren't aware, Y2K was not a real concern. Like there was like some reasons to be worried about it, but like people fixed it and then
Hmm.
people were still worried about it. But like
Yeah,
there was some stuff that could really go wrong during
it was,
Y2K.
hey, we need to be worried if we don't fix this. And
And then
everyone
they
took that to
fixed
mean,
it.
oh, the robot apocalypse is happening. It was like, no,
Yeah.
we just need it to be able to handle a 2 instead of a 1.
Yeah, we
And
need to just
technology isn't as great as it can be.
just need to mess with the programming of a bunch of stuff and like
Hmm.
again, some stuff could go wrong, but we're gonna fix it. So
Like, it's gonna be fine. It's just we need to make sure that it's fine.
yeah. But what would the cars be worried about going wrong in Y2K?
Well, a lot of cars have
Yeah.
internal computers.
That's where I was going.
So, what if Y2K to them was a massive extinction event where they were afraid that their internal clocks could not handle it and they would all just die?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have I think that's probably a pretty good way for us to take this for a while.
All right. What are apocalypse events that we have like popular ones? There's the Y2K, there's the Mayan 2012 or Aztec or I don't remember which one's the right one.
Mine. But there's the Yellowstone supervolcano is the one I hear about most
Mhm.
often nowadays. Uh,
Isn't like there the fault line that is supposed to be not actually a concern, but if it were to somehow go wrong, it would go catastrophically wrong, like through Kentucky.
yeah, I have heard something about that. I always hear people say like, "Oh, Kentucky's overdue for a super earthquake," and I'm like, "You don't. I don't. You're not a geologist. Who are you? You're a
You
random person I've just met."
you just threw the word super in front of earthquake.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's not a geological term, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
Your classic day after tomorrow.
I mean, global warming,
That's what that
but that
is.
one's no, yeah, that's what I was, but like a more like realistic global warming scenario.
um,
Zombies,
zombies, of course.
yeah,
Nuclear fallout.
yeah, that's asteroid,
Okay, let's pick nuclear fallout for now. This has me concerned
yeah,
because if nuclear weapons exist,
yeah.
that means there are people with nukes inside of them.
Oh yeah, there's a lot to worry about vis-a-vis nukes.
They're just people who can accidentally like fart out devastation for the entire surface world.
Yeah, and I know we've talked about if missiles are sentient before, and you didn't think missiles are sentient. I'm still not convinced that missiles are not sentient because they're just rockets. That's what they are. They're rockets, but they're intended to blow up, and rockets are sentient.
But rockets also are made to transport people.
That's fair. Okay, I could see that. Yeah,
So,
fine.
like they may be alive, but I don't know if they're sentient.
Them being alive isn't great either,
Yep. Because
but it's
if you think about that,
better.
think about the fact that they're just submarines with these living creatures inside of them that want to jump out and explode the world.
I mean, thinking too much about the real non-sentient submarines that can destroy the world, it gets me down. So
Mm-hmm.
thinking about the living ones in the Cars verse
Yep.
isn't going to be much better.
Okay, so there are a bunch of creatures underwater who have parasites inside of them that can blow up the world.
Yeah,
That's just something we have to live with.
yeah, bad.
What happens if one of them gets sick?
You know what happens if one of them gets Y2K'd?
Yep. A good Y2King would, I don't know, destroy the entirety of the surface world and leave just like nuclear fallout ridden ocean.
Yeah, it's not good, and especially seeing as the ocean is like sentient people live there. It seems in like
Mm-hmm.
a way in this universe.
Huh. What if the entire world got Y2K'd by these parasitic nuclear bombs
Yeah,
and that resulted in not a city, but the world of Atlantis?
so more of a water world situation.
Yes, but without it being the same sort of, oh, global warming has made the water rise,
Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
made the world gone. It's no, it's just same amount of, uh, well, almost same amount of like land. It's just poison. Everything's poison.
Everything's poison. Yeah, that wouldn't be good. Although I will say, when you did bring up Y2K, I was going more of like a full Skynet slash, in this universe, what would be akin to a zombie uprising of
That is a
like,
good point. What
of
if the Terminator zombie apocalypse happened?
yeah, like Y2K somehow, at least the perception is that Y2K can lead to the computer parts of the car brain taking over and revolting, is what my thought was. Which,
Hmm.
if we go Terminator wise, still results in a nuclear nuclear holocaust. But
See, from what I understand about Y2K, the fear was that essentially all of the economy would be null and void, and anything protecting nuclear launch codes and nuclear launches in general would also be null and void and might just launch them indiscriminately. So,
sure.
like, it was a nuclear wasteland and economic crisis type fear. I don't know how many people thought the computers were going to take over.
Yeah, but I could see in our universe people didn't have computers in their brains. I could
True.
see the fear and panic really spiraling to a much worse place in the Cars verse is what I was going for.
Okay. Do we think that the fear was that they would turn into monsters controlled by the computer, or do we think that it would just break their brains?
I
Like,
think both
still
would.
could result in zombies, like bath salt level zombies of, oh, I'm going to eat flesh because I'm out my mind.
Yeah, I could see both being fears. I was imagining more of like a sophisticated like Skynet takeover. Like the computers are like, ah, now's the time. We're the cars now.
We are become the captain of your brain.
Yeah, that's a amalgamation of two quotes. Uh,
Nice. All
yeah.
right. So here's the thing.
Tell me the thing, Johnny.
When people talk about zombies,
Yeah,
there are a lot of different things you could be talking about, but for the most part, it's very common to think, oh, Romero zombies, the slow, shambling, everyone except for like 1% of the world zombies. In this world, if that were to happen, they're still not going to be slow
yeah.
because they're
They would
cars.
they would very much be the who has fast zombies? 28 Days Later, do they have fast zombies?
I Am Legend.
I Am Legend has fast zombies. Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh that would be bad.
That'd be very bad. But also, if there is some amount of like flesh dissolving and whatnot, do we think the tires would be an issue?
Okay, so you're talking like the same sort of like degradation that zombies go through.
Mm-hmm.
How would that manifest in car? I mean, my first thought is, of course, the rusty cars.
The rust, the parts falling off.
If they were to degrade in a similar way to like the uh, uh, Night of the Living Dead zombies, I could see their tires getting messed up being a way to force them into more slow zombies, which
Mm-hmm.
could be an interesting one to one there. Way we could get slow zombies in the cars first, or at least comparatively slow zombies.
Mm-hmm. And you have to imagine that even if they're like the fast zombies, that once the uh, once the tires are blown or anything, that they're not going to know how to change them.
Oh yeah, fully. They're mindless. Although I did just think of, you know how in I haven't seen this movie. It's like the single fact I know about World War Z is that they build a big wall and then they do a zombie pile over it. But in this world, plane can be zombie, yeah? And helicopter can be zombie.
And also, submarine can be zombie.
Yeah, so like I don't know how we keep zombie out in this world.
There is no keep zombie out. There is only escape.
Escape to Mars.
Mm-hmm. So only the like 1% that are rockets can survive.
You know, yeah, go rebuild car society. I can
Mm-hmm.
dig it.
What if that's how cars happened?
Okay, you're gonna have to walk me through it.
Imagine, if you will, that it's 1999. Y2K fever is at its peak, and
you're,
it's just about to be midnight. All of a
it's like I'm
sudden,
there.
the bell chimes, everyone's partying, and then you hear some screams. Wait a minute, that's not a scream. That's a screech. That's the screech of tires.
Okay.
What's going on? You look outside and you see cars just going everywhere, going crazy, almost as if the computer in each of their brains has been taken over by some sort of uh, creature or next thing you know, it's a year later and you're one of the very small amount of humans left after the uprising of the vehicles. Y2K has taken its toll on the world, and its toll was in human blood, for the vehicles have become the supreme being. They are on the top of the food chain, and you can only hope that they don't choose to hunt you down and eat you.
Huh. Yeah, you lost it a little at the end there from just my and the audience sensing your unsureness. But yeah, that's bad. That could be. Yes, why not? Origin stories Y2K. We did it. You can stop requesting it, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but that does both the idea of cars eating humans, and earlier you did mention car zombies seeking flesh. So this does, oddly enough, bring me to this week's question from Liz.
Okay.
Yeah, if you don't know, both of our significant others are named Elizabeth. They ask us questions. We don't tell you which is which, but it's pretty obvious. That's the joke. But this week, when I was brainstorming for this session, Liz brought up the Donner Party.
Mm.
Now, you know the story of the Donner Party, yes?
Yep. They were lost, I believe, on a mountain, and then they
Yeah.
ate each other.
Yeah, that's pretty much the long and short of it. They were uh, trying to make it out west to California and got lost in the mountains during the winter, and several of them froze to death, which is something else we're gonna have to talk about vis-a-vis the Donner Party and the Cars verse. But
Mm.
the headline is several resorted to cannibalism of the other dead members of their party. So, Cars?
All right. So we've talked many times about how we believe that there's some sort of squishy bit inside of exosuit,
Yeah.
meaning that if they were to eat their fellow man, do we think that they eat both the squishy bit and the metal, or is it a crab situation where you gotta crack them open and suck out the juicy meat?
Yeah, I was thinking like an oyster situation, clam. Yeah, we know. Okay, what do we know? What do we know cars have to eat? We know they have to consume fuel and oil.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be a big part of it, is that they just sort of siphon the remaining liquids from them.
Okay.
Uh, but we do see them eat like people food also,
True.
which is a shame that we see that. Not for us, but for y'all, I guess, because it
Mm-hmm.
gives us content, but you have to think about it. Uh, so yeah, I guess they would maybe crack them open and eat and suck out the gooey, ooey gooey, squishy bit, like it was an oyster or a clam or a crab, as you so aptly put.
Mm-hmm.
But that does bring up the question of how do they how do they do that, especially when there's like just a series of pioneers in the California West.
Well, one thing that you do when you're uh, exploring a mountain in the winter is you bring a pick.
Okay.
So I'm thinking you just gotta get right into that eye window, and then
Oh God.
you just pull it back. You just rip the
Yeah.
scalp off, and you just suck the juices.
Yeah, I was thinking just you just crack the windshield and go through the windshield. When
Mm-hmm.
you said that, I think that could equally work, or even just we've assumed most of the time that the eyes are a part of the squishy bit protected by the windshield.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, just shove the pick in there and just I don't know, fork it on out of there.
Yep.
I don't
You
like
just stick
this.
your gigantic mouth over their eyes, and you just.
Man, that's a noise that's recorded on the internet now. Are you
Mhm.
okay with that? Jeez.
I am.
Okay, that's your choice as a red-blooded American. I'm not going to edit it down at all. I'm going to normalize all the levels except right there. Uh,
Okay.
but yeah, so we think they siphon the fuel. We think they eat the squishy bit in a terrifying, terrifying manner. Do they do anything with the metal?
It depends. Do if we think that they need to eat metal, which I don't think they need to do because it seems like just things to have replaced, then they would have to just, I don't know, soften it up and then maybe it's like a marrow type situation where
Yeah.
you cook it into the soup, but you don't necessarily eat the bone.
Yeah, the only evidence I think we have cited before that they eat metal is that like one sushi place had a sign that had a
Nut.
bolt, a nut on it. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but like that could just be like a cutesy, clever way of like being like, "Yeah, we're cars,
Mm-hmm.
so you get it."
Makes sense. Makes sense. I
We don't
think they're just
see
gonna
them
go for the
eating
squishy
metal.
bit.
Yeah, they're gonna go for the squishy bit, siphon the fuel, but the other side of that is a lot of them froze to death.
See, if we're talking about they need the internal juices, then one thing that cars need
Antifreeze.
is antifreeze.
Yeah, I was
So
right
that's
there.
another juice they're going to go for is that thing that I didn't know to check in my first car that ended up having my engine melt.
Womp womp.
Yep.
They should call it anti-melt then. That's the
Yeah.
opposite of what the name implies. Uh, but
Well, I was out of coolant. It's just I was out of a fluid.
yeah, okay. Well, what are you gonna do? Replace your coolant. But
Mhm.
but the cars already have the antifreeze is the thing. So how do they freeze in the first place?
Some of them probably ran out of antifreeze.
Yeah, they weren't stocked for the trip through the treacherous Sierra Nevada mountains.
Mhm.
But yeah, that sucks.
Yep. What are you
Yeah.
going to do? Except for I guess freeze.
But the idea of the Oregon Trail did sort of set me spinning on just the idea of like exploration and expansion in general.
Mhm.
I'm not I don't want to get into who built the roads because that's a whole other thing about infrastructure. But I want
Lucas,
to talk about pre-roads.
super important question.
Yeah.
How car Ford River?
Yeah, that's sort of what I'm getting at. Like before bridge, before road through forest. How do they get through forest? How do they how do they caulk their wagon, as it were, to get down? I want to say the Columbia River was the final little bit of the Oregon Trail game.
See, what happens is that when it's really rainy
Yeah.
and you like drive over too much of a big puddle,
Mm-hmm.
that can wreck all your stuff in your car.
Yeah.
Now imagine it's a river.
Yeah, I think they would go for the take the ferry option on the Oregon Trail most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, caulking your wagon was like sealing it to any water getting in
Mm-hmm.
and then floating it down the river.
And hoping that your oxen won't drown.
No, a lot of times they killed their ox and made the caulk out of them, apparently.
Ah,
Uh,
yeah. Okay. Yep. Yep. Is the
which
whooses.
yeah, is messed up, but I mean, I don't know. I get it. So would car float down the Great Columbia River if it were sealed off from water in a decent way with the air trapped inside it?
Um, no.
Yeah, I didn't think so. But I
I
thought I'd
mean,
bring it up.
if we're talking an older car, certainly not. If we're talking like a Finn McMissile, obviously.
Yeah. And I guess they make the caulk out of tractors, which is no good. But they also wouldn't need the oxen to pull anything because they're the thing. Oh man, it's a
All
twisted
right.
web we weave.
Oregon Trail, but you
Yeah.
are your oxen.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, that they pull a trailer or something behind them, which we decided were horses. Jeez, okay. Uh
They're pulling their horses.
yeah, which is what we sort of decided horses would be. They would be more of a beast of burden than a means of transportation.
Boy, howdy.
Yeah. How do they get over river before bridge?
Well, they're cars. So, realistic answer, if that was a thing, I have to assume they just drove until they could get around it.
Yeah, or like built. Only way you get over is you build a raft or ferry or something. Somehow.
I don't know. I don't know.
That's fair, man. But how do car get through forest?
Car get through forest by
Going
having
around forest.
Maru decide to augment them and make them tree cutter.
Yeah, I can't. Either it's like send in small car slash like forklift to explore forest, or just cut down forest. Car can't make it through forest without path.
So make path.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Bulldozers?
Yeah, they would need like industrial again. I don't remember what the oh about murdering cars through putting rocks on them. That's what I mentioned industrial construction equipment earlier. But once again, they would need industrial construction equipment to,
Mm-hmm.
explore and expand areas that these specific cars weren't familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Why not?
So Lewis and Clark, just construction equipment. That's it.
I can dig that. It also paints a very clear picture of like, colonialism as destroying the lands they go to. I'm always good to go with that kind of picture.
Mm-hmm. It's a message that it's very comfortable with sharing.
Yeah. All right, that's all I got vis-a-vis expansion, exploration, and the Donner Party. You got another one?
Well, I think it's time we talk about it.
Okay, I'm ready.
George Washington's teeth.
Phew, okay, we've been putting it off since episode 1,
Mm-hmm.
but I guess it's finally time.
So George Washington,
Yeah.
the man had some teeth, but they
Well,
weren't teeth.
yeah, famously he didn't have teeth, as a matter of
He
fact.
didn't have his teeth, but he did
Yeah.
have teeth. Well, want to talk about what kind of teeth he had?
They were bone, right? They were ivory or something.
They were wood and ivory.
Yeah, wooden and ivory. So we can get to wood in the cars first.
Yeah, but where do ivory come from?
No, yeah, that's the issue. I think we need to decide, are car teeth, when they have them, just like human teeth? Because Mater has individual teeth, but we have discussed before that it seems Lightning McQueen just has one big top tooth and one big bottom tooth?
I think it's a situation where teeth are different for everyone.
You know? Yeah.
So, what the ivory from?
Well, the only exposed bone we've seen is, in fact, other teeth. If it is, in fact, a bone and not part of their mechanics.
So, one problem with ivory
Yeah.
is that people will hunt down elephant, rhino, and steal horn.
Yes.
Sometimes kill animal to do so, sometimes just maim them.
Yeah.
So, is our theory that there's some sort of elephant or rhino equivalent, or is our theory that there's some sort of creature that they kill just to steal their teeth?
I mean, that's sort of what ivory poaching is with the horns,
Mm-hmm.
just a different part. But yeah, I don't know how we can justify a giant bone ivory horn on a car, you know? So
Mm.
I think it may have to be the teeth.
It may have to be the teeth, which has me thinking, is there a single creature on this planet that isn't human that we could take the teeth from and put in a human mouth and it not be the worst thing ever?
Okay. No.
Thank you, we are agreed.
Cool.
Best I could think of is like, okay, we find, I guess, a monkey,
Yeah.
and then we like file the teeth to be more human like, and then just never tell the person they've got monkey teeth.
Yeah, I think it's the best thing to do, and this is also not great, but like use a much like an organ donor, a teeth donor,
Mm.
after they've passed, or I don't know, once they've lost them or something. I don't know how teeth work. I don't know if you could then put them in someone else's. Why couldn't you just put them back? I guess. Uh,
Well, good point.
yeah, I do want to confirm though, as probably assumed, but I did look up the tractors, and they have teeth as well. Which, like, I don't know. Again, probably assumed, but we do know that other non sentient beings have teeth for them to steal. I guess.
Mm-hmm. George Washington
Yeah.
lived in a time where I have to imagine that technology and society and all that jazz was far less capable of using things like enamel to just make teeth
Yeah.
and carving tools that can make very specific, more human, but I guess with parentheses cars thing, uh, teeth. So I guess what I'm saying is
Yeah.
there's a lot to think about that's very troubling with trying to imagine his teeth. Not the least of which being that it's probably just other person slash creature's teeth that was stolen.
Yeah.
But what if it was just wood? And if it is
I.
just wood, how do you make that not terrible?
I mean, I don't know that they succeeded at making his teeth good in our universe.
Good
Uh,
point.
I think I've read something about them being like very uncomfortable for him or something.
I think he
Uh,
had famously terrible breath.
yeah, because he's got just rhino bones or something inside his mouth.
Mm.
Uh, but yeah, I don't think they would succeed at making it not terrible. But I guess it might if it is like we were saying, the Lightning McQueen style, one big up tooth, one big down tooth. Then I don't know. That would be easier, I guess.
Maybe easier, maybe harder, but at the same time, it makes me think it's got to be so hard to not lose your teeth because you've got two of them, and if you get a tiny little cavity in one spot of your tooth, that could ruin your whole tooth, and you've only got two of them.
Yeah, that's not good. I did just Okay. So the fact that we see most cars have the very flat teeth to me implies that they're vegetarians, yeah? Like you don't need canine you don't if you don't have things to rip and tear meat, then you don't eat much meat, which is great. But we do, as I mentioned, have one character who has articulated teeth.
Are
Or
you
not
trying
articulated.
to are you trying to point out the fact that there is one probable carnivore, and that it is in fact the deity
Y-
Tomater?
yeah, that is where I was sort of rambling up to, is that Mater is the only one who I can see it might be possible eats meat, and gosh, I don't care for that.
And he's also the only one with just a yard of body parts.
Okay, yeah.
And he's also the
Hmm.
one who leads people to their near death and to discover body part graveyards.
Seems we're back on cannibalism, huh, John?
Auto cannibalism.
Hey, but not that auto cannibalism.
So
Okay.
Mater has divine powers
Yes, this is
and
assumed at this
also
point.
also probably eats other cars,
Yeah,
which is
like
helped by the fact that he's got the predator hook.
yeah, he might be the apex predator in this universe.
Oh boy.
Huh. He's the top of the food chain, huh?
Mm-hmm. Maybe that explains his like rusty body and whatnot, and his like body just being in a lower uh, state of quality is because he's been trying to not eat people.
Well, and actually eating people is not healthy. Uh
It is if
I
you're designed to do it.
Yeah, that's fair. But if you're not, eating another person does send some chemicals into your brain that is very bad.
Especially if you
We,
eat the brain.
yeah, it's not good for you. So
Mm-hmm.
either A, it's evidence that he's been starving himself from what he is designed to eat, or B, he is very much not designed to eat other cars, but he sure finds a way to do it anyway.
He gave himself those split teeth so that he'd be better at it. And he used his hook to do it, which is why they're all janky.
Yeah, and I'm looking at a picture of Tomater, and darn it if those two protruding buck teeth don't seem like they'd be good at scooping stuff out.
Mm-hmm. Breaking through
Huh.
that glass to get at the gushy bit.
And we're ignoring that he's also a vampire at this point.
He is a witch vampire who's got more powerful witch friends, and he's friends with one of the trained deities. But he's
See, does
also
he have.
enemies with another trained deity.
Yeah, when he is Vampire Mater, he does have sharp teeth, as you might assume.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez. We've gotten to Mater is a actual vampire before, but not to Mater also just in his off time murders and eats other cars. We've gotten to Mater murders other cars in his off time.
Mater seems to be some sort of deity who survives by eating the flesh of other vehicles.
Yeah, you remember when we were like, Mater is like a force for good. He really just checks the morality in others. I don't know that those two worldviews about Tow Mater can coexist. So you go ahead and choose your favorite. Uh,
Those he judges as not capable of being saved or fixed, he eats.
any other teeth based horror?
Um,
I mean, baby teeth. The teeth have to fall out.
Dang, do you think that there's just a period in their life where they only have their top or bottom tooth?
Yeah, that's kind of where I was getting, which isn't great.
Or what
But the
if their baby teeth are a bunch of teeth? Those fall out. And that's why Mater still has his baby, air quotes, teeth, because he's a deity who lives so
yeah,
very long.
okay. Or it could be the opposite, that he is an ancient being who has is the only one who's been around long enough to receive his adult teeth.
Hmm, neat.
All I know is that the payoff from the tooth fairy has to be pretty choice if you lose half of your teeth in at once.
Mm-hmm.
Like a buck a tooth isn't gonna cut it, you know?
See, at one point in time, I did get, in fact, $20 for a tooth.
Oh, there you go. That's pretty good.
Of course, it was not because it fell out naturally and uh, my parents were just feeling absurdly generous. No, it was because I had a somewhat loose tooth that was not ready to come out.
Ah,
I was poking at it. My dad said, "Hey, let me see that." I said, "No." And then he said, "I'm not going to pull it." And he did, in fact, pull it.
yeah, that's sort of what I was assuming the story would go to.
And I did get $1 for every minute I bled.
Okay, good stuff, man.
Yep. It was very painful and it caused me to develop some trust issues.
Yeah, I can see why. The trust issues may have been a bit helpful in that situation.
Yep. So sometimes a kid says no, and you want to say, "How dare you? You are my child. You do not get to say no." But maybe it's because the child knows what you're about to do and also knows that the tooth isn't ready.
Yeah, the child knows what the tooth feels like in their mouth. Maybe listen to him.
hmm If the child feels like the roots are still pretty strong, that might be important. Uh,
Just horrifying stuff, man. Glad that
yep.
didn't happen to me. I did lose, uh, like, not in the. They fell out of my head, and then I lost them, before I could get them to the pillow,
Mm.
uh, multiple times. I think once once I was at like a daycare or something, or I was being babysat or something, and whoever was in charge of me wrote me a note that I was supposed to give to the tooth fairy, and they like signed it, and they're like, "Hey, he lost his tooth. Trust him." Uh, and the other time, I drew a picture of myself without the tooth to prove that I didn't have the tooth, and both of those seem to work fine. So if you ever need to scam the tooth fairy, she's pretty trusting.
See, what if the tooth fairy is a fairy, so maybe the providing evidence was enough for the tooth fairy to then check and find that,
Mm.
oh yes, there was a tooth there and it is now missing.
But I feel like the thing is, the tooth fairy wants the teeth, right? She didn't get her teeth.
Mm. I feel like the tooth fairy just wants to make sure that you get rid of the tooth so
Okay.
that you can grow because it's like a force of nature of, hey, I'm helping you grow.
No, I never assumed that. I always assumed that the tooth fairy was just a freak who wanted teeth and was
Ah,
willing to pay out a premium for them.
fair enough. Makes sense.
That's sure that can be one of our moments in history, the tooth fairy. Uh,
Throughout all of history.
yeah. Okay. Well, we do have to. What would the tooth fairy look like in the cars first? Now that we've brought it up.
A very, very small, but also exactly the same size tomater.
Yeah, with wings. Why not? Uh,
Please tell me you know why I say this.
I can't think of it. The image of a very small tomater is very familiar to me. Why do you say it?
Larry the Cable Guy did, in fact, play the Tooth Fairy.
Oh, in what, the Rise of the Guardians or something?
No, I think it was just like the Tooth Fairy 2.
Okay, why not? Sure.
In one of them, it was The Rock, and the other one, it was Larry the Cable Guy. It is, in
Oh
fact, Tooth
yeah,
Fairy
yeah.
2.
Okay, well, there you go. We have the evidence. I'd say he's probably still blue in this version, a bit more pristine.
It
But he's
looks like
got like,
he would be pink because Larry the Cable Guy is wearing his typical getup, but it's pink.
well, ain't that nice? So sure, pink tomato, small wings. Yeah, that's the tooth fairy.
All right.
That seems like a good place as any to end this one.
Okie doke.
So, thank you all so much for listening. We really, really appreciate it, especially when we talk about the Tooth Fairy and the Cars first for a while. We get it. Uh, but if you want to send us better stuff to talk about in our next Moments in History, or you want to suggest an origin story or a autobiography, or you just are like, hey, what's this like in Cars? You can do that. You have the power, and we really like it when you do that because we're bad at this. So you can send those things to our email, which is thekachat@gmail.com, or you can tweet at us or DM us on Twitter, which is at @thekachat. Both of those are all one word, no hyphen. Now, John says stuff. Go.
Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and tell anyone and everyone about our show that you think might want to listen. And also, just a shout out to New Zealand. I see that you're rising up in the ranks there, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, let's go. Kiwis? Is that the like thing for?
The bird?
I think that since I don't know, I'm gonna cut it out, obviously, or look it up. But if you are called Kiwis, then it's still in. So thank you. But if you're not, you'll never have heard this. Anyway, I'm Lucas Southworth,
And I'm John Bishop.
and until next week, don't forget to float like a Cadillac.
And sting like a beamer.